All right, Fletcher, I don't think anyone was really surprised that Alvin Gentry got fired. 5 seasons, very underwhelming. Only one winning season. That same season, they went to the playoffs, 2017, 2018. They won 48 games. They made it to the second round of the playoffs. This season was just, let's call it what it was, a disaster. 30-42, 2-6 in the bubble. The team didn't look like they gave much effort. They didn't focus. Even after the Spurs loss, you heard both Zion and J.J. Redick said no competitive spirit to start the game. Alvin Gentry, hey, you can tell us, Fletcher, he's a really good person. He's really honest with the media, answers a lot of the questions. But sometimes, Fletcher, a good person doesn't really translate to a good coach.
No, you're right, Sharif. I think the epitaph on his Pelicans tombstone, so to say, not to be too morbid there, will probably be a good man who never truly got a fair shake. Alvin Gentry has dealt with so many unforeseen obstacles since coming to New Orleans. In 2016, Anthony Davis gets hurt. In 2017, they pivot and go in a different direction. Then they trade for DeMarcus Cousins. In 2018, Cousins gets hurt. In 2019, Davis demands a trade. In 2020, Zion gets hurt. And you have to deal with COVID. No coach, maybe in recent NBA history, has had to deal with challenges like that. Gentry has always done it in an upstanding, positive way. He carries a lot of favor with owner Gail Benson. This was no doubt a difficult decision for her, but probably the right decision. Last year, the team brought in Executive Vice President David Griffin. A lot of us thought maybe he clears house, starts over after 10 years of Dell Demps and a lot of bad decision-making. He kept Alvin Gentry, but look, what happened in Orlando is hard to overlook. I was told they were going to compartmentalize what happened in Orlando and not make that part of the judgment process. But I think things went so bad and they looked so awful. And everything you alluded to, players saying we're unprepared, that we're not motivated, that fell squarely on Alvin Gentry. And I certainly think that it's time for David Griffin to hire his guy, so to say, and go in a different direction with this young team. And look, Alvin Gentry is going to land on his feet. 30 plus years in the NBA as an assistant and a head coach. If he wants to keep coaching, he has strong ties. He will be a lead assistant, maybe back with Golden State, potentially the Clippers, Sacramento, Brooklyn. He's going to have options as an assistant coach if he wants to remain in the NBA.
Yeah, 5 seasons with the Pelicans. He had a 175 and 225 record. Certainly not good. David Griffin, they built a very good front office, Swing Cash, Trajan Langdon. They need that right coach. David Griffin has probably quite a few guys he'd probably like to hire. One guy I know we talked all about, Kenny Atkinson, former Nets head coach, a tie to Trajan Langdon there as well. Some names that you possibly could, at least get an interview or maybe become the head coach of the Pelicans.
Yeah, certainly Kenny Atkinson seems like the no-brainer candidate, if you will. He checks so many boxes. He and Trajan Langdon were in Brooklyn together with Sean Marks. They really built that organization from the ashes. Player development was a huge focus there because they didn't have any high first-round draft picks. So it would be fascinating to see what Kenny Atkinson, a guy who's kind of hung his hat on player development, could do with a Pelicans roster that features 8 players that are 22 years of age or younger. That includes Brandon Ingram, who is an all-star, and Zion Williamson, who looks like a future superstar. So he seems like he checks a lot of boxes. Head coaching experience, success as a head coach, player development, ties to the team's general manager, Trajan Langdon. It almost seems like a no-brainer, but he's going to be in demand. The Chicago Bulls have an opening. The Houston Rockets may have an opening. So Atkinson's going to be a guy that's in demand. He could sit it out a year and wait and then go into the coaching ranks next year. Becky Hammon, who can make history, the Spurs assistant coach, former WNBA player. She's interviewed for head coaching jobs. She would become the first female head coach in major professional sports in North America. So aside from the fact that she's worthy, is a former player, knows basketball, and has built her way up with the Spurs, the fact that it would be a history-making move, maybe something that is something David Griffin likes. And then certainly there's big names like Ty Lue, Jason Kidd. There's college coaches like Tony Bennett, Anthony Grant. There's assistant coaches like Jamal Mosley with the Dallas Mavericks, who's a hot name, who just interviewed with the New York Knicks. Believe me, coaching Zion, the young players, the assets the Pelicans have, it's going to be a job people are interested in. Make no mistake about that.
This may be a no-brainer question, Fletcher. The next coach they bring in, realistically, where do they want to see this team, I guess, in the next season or two? Because they do have a lot of good young talent, and it feels like they should be much further along.
Well, let me say this. That's a great question. And that's something I ask myself when I write columns, when you and I have these discussions, when we do sports. The Western Conference next year is going to be insane loaded. There's 30 teams in the NBA. There's 15 in the Western Conference. All 15 want to get into the playoffs. Next year, there will be no rebuilding teams in the Western Conference. There will be no teams, quote unquote, tanking for the draft pick. 1 to 15 all want those 8 playoff spots. There are going to be 7 teams next year crushed, disappointed, completely let down. So where are the Pelicans supposed to be? I would say a playoff team. Look, they're not good enough yet. Zion's 20. Ingram's going to be 23. They still are a young team, but they should, if healthy with the right coach, I think get into the playoffs with the talent they have. They also have big decisions. Drew Holiday, J.J. Redick. I know they say it doesn't matter, but they don't fit the same timeline. J.J. Redick's 36. Drew Holiday's going to be 31. Zion's 20. The rest, Lonzo Ball is 21. Brandon Ingram's 22. I mean, they have a young team. So they have a lot of decisions to make on top of head coach. Which direction are they going to go in? What do they look like next season? So it's going to be an interesting season, off season for basketball in the Big Easy.
Certainly a lot of important decisions coming this offseason for David Griffin and company. Once again, Alvin Gentry relieved of his duties as the Pelicans head coach after 5 seasons. He is Fletcher Mackel. I am Sharif Ishak, WDSU News.